In the heart of a bustling African village, nestled beneath towering trees and the watchful gaze of the sun, lived a man named Bolewa. At 55, Bolewa had seen the world shift in ways that left both scars and wisdom in his soul. His days were simple, marked by quiet reflection, tending to his cattle, and the company of his friends, whom he held dearer than gold. Bolewa was known for his strength, both physical and moral, his steady hands, and his unwavering commitment to his community. Bolewa's life had been one of peace. His youth had been spent fighting for independence, standing with his brothers in the struggle against colonial rule. But now, in the twilight years of his life, he was free to live without the shackles of oppression, free to breathe the fresh air of a land that was finally his. Yet, despite the serenity of his life, trouble loomed. It was a scorching afternoon when the message arrived. A group of Bolewa's closest friends, men who had stood by him through thick and thin, had been wrongfully accused of conspiring against the government. The accusation, rooted in jealousy and deceit, was an affront to the men's integrity. But the powers that be saw them as threats that needed to be removed for the peace of the land to be maintained. The news sent ripples through the village. Bolewa could not stand by and watch as his friends were taken away. He knew that, as much as they had stood by him in his darkest hours, now was the time for him to do the same for them. The prison that loomed on the outskirts of the village was notorious for swallowing those who were taken inside. Few had ever returned the same, and many had disappeared forever. Bolewa's heart grew heavy. He had lived through years of imprisonment in the past, years of oppression, and the pain of watching his comrades suffer. He could not allow it to happen again, not to his friends, not to the men who had fought by his side when hope was a mere whisper. After much thought, Bolewa made the decision. He would surrender his own freedom to save theirs. Under the cover of night, with the full moon hanging like a silent witness in the sky, Bolewa set out. He walked the familiar path to the government compound, where his friends were being held. With every step, memories of his own suffering in the past flooded his mind, but so did the faces of those he cared for, the men who had helped him rebuild his life when the weight of his own past had threatened to bury him. He could not turn back now. Bolewa arrived at the gates, his mind as steady as his hands. The guards, surprised to see him, raised their rifles, but Bolewa spoke calmly. He offered himself as a prisoner in exchange for his friends. "I have lived my life," Bolewa said, his voice strong yet tinged with sorrow. "But they are still young. They are still needed." The guards hesitated. Bolewa's reputation was known even to them. His bravery and wisdom had earned him respect, but there were orders to follow, and the orders were clear. They could not just release the accused. But Bolewa's sacrifice was something the guards could not ignore. His age, his strength, his history, all of it weighed on their hearts. After long minutes, which felt like hours, the decision was made. The authorities agreed to release his friends, but only if Bolewa would remain imprisoned in their place. He nodded solemnly, accepting his fate. As the shackles were placed on his wrists once more, he felt no anger, only a deep, unwavering peace. He had done what he needed to do, and in that moment, he knew he had given them hope, the one thing no one could take from them. The days that followed were long. Bolewa's friends, freed from their unjust captors, returned to the village and continued their lives, but they never forgot the sacrifice made on their behalf. The village, too, never forgot. Bolewa's story became a legend, passed down from one generation to the next. The older generation would tell the younger ones about the man who had sacrificed his freedom for others, a man whose courage and selflessness had not only saved lives but had also rekindled the spirit of unity and self-sacrifice within the village. Years later, when Bolewa's time came to join his ancestors, his grave was marked by a simple stone that read, "Bolewa, a man who gave everything for his friends, a hero of the people." And though Bolewa had given up his freedom in the hearts of those he saved, he remained free forever.